out that the theme for TEDx 2018 was why not now? I asked myself the exact same question, but this time not why not now, why I didn't begin my assignment on time. Instead, I asked myself something that I now ask you. Why not now? Why not begin your rebellion now? Have you ever had to rebel in order to defend someone or something that you believe in? Because I know that I have. Rebel is a word of both power and inferiority at the same time. And rebel, what a word to say. Rebel, what a word to hear. But rebel, what a thing to do. The day you are born, you rebel against death. The day you succeed, you rebel against failure. But the moment that you realize that you need to rebel, you rebel against the world. Well, my first rebellion began at the age of 10 years old. And yes, as I said before, rebel is a word of both power and inferiority at the same time. One rebels because they can, or one rebels because they don't have a choice. In my case, I had the choice, but I had the final choice. And my mother, my sister, and I rebelled against an abusive father, rebelled against the Panamanian judicial system, and rebelled against the concept of justice that I thought I knew at the time. So sit up and get prepared to enjoy my memories and repressed emotions of a day that changed my life forever. It made me understand the harsh and crude realities of the hidden cultural and structural violence in Panama, in Central America, and around the world that prevents victims of domestic violence or any type of violence from speaking up and defending their rights. And let me teach you about the system that I have gone through, a system in which the aggressor becomes the victim, and the victim can't be heard nor speak up. Through living in Ecuador, in Panama, and in Canada, there is one phrase that I heard that is able to describe my rebellion and the impact it has had on me. And that is, how many years do you need to forget 1 minute? And through my life and through my experience, I developed an answer to this, which is a lifetime. May 10 in 2010, I was 10 years old, and it was Mother's Day. Ironically, Mother's Day. The day that you're supposed to celebrate the creators of the tiny humans and be so proud to have them in your life. It was this exact same day that I was able to realize that for Mother's Day and for the following Father's Day, I would also be celebrating my mother. But I wish that I could celebrate my mother every single day, because it's because of her and of her rebelling that I was able to want to rebel. She's the first person in my life that I ever saw rebel. She rebelled to defend her rights as a woman, and she rebelled to defend my sister and my rights as children at the time. We marched along her like soldiers, ready to rebel. But now I'm prepared to lead my own rebellion and to inspire you to do the same. I always say that it's so funny how life works. How sometimes we remember some things and we don't remember others. There are certain things that I don't even know as to why I remember. For May 10th, I see a picture of a bowl from the Spanish restaurant, a white cord telephone, a glass of whiskey filled halfway, and something that I feel and I can't forget was a blue sweater that turned blood red at the end of the night. May 10th, we were in my grandmother's house. My mother was in front of me, and my father was sitting next to me. And as always, I was kind of in the middle of the situation. And from one moment to the next, the voices in the room turned into sounds, and the anger of my father turned into violence. From one moment to the next, my mom's life was at risk. She was being kicked non-stop by my father. If you have ever watched the Hulk or know what the Hulk is, That's the best way that I can explain my father's transformation. This huge monster that was just unstoppable. He had one target, my mother. And what do you do to stop the Hulk? Well, I was in front of him trying to stop him. My grandparents were in front of him trying to stop him. But how do you stop someone that's unstoppable? Well, my answer to that is that you rebel. Now, I've never been a girl that likes high heels. I hate high heels. I love wearing Converse or sneakers or even flats. But I will always, and I say always, be grateful for my mom's red stilettos that day. Because if it wouldn't be because of those shoes, she probably wouldn't be here with me today, and I probably wouldn't be standing up here speaking to you. Here's a great self-defense tip. If you ever have a person attacking you, you look at your shoes, because they could always save you. But in all seriousness, I'm more than grateful that that day my mom was wearing those shoes. Life is so unpredictable. I went from living in Canada to Ecuador to Canada and then to Panama. And then I went to testifying in a foreign court in a foreign country that I didn't know, that I didn't understand. And the first time I rebelled was by testifying. But I think that you should know that in order to rebel, you must first rebel against yourself. I had to rebel against the idea of there being such thing as a perfect family. And I had to rebel against the idea of there being justice that's easy and achievable. Because unfortunately, it's not. When you go to court in Panama and you're 10 years old, you see people that have been so hurt before. You see women that have been constantly beaten. And they're bleeding, sitting in the chair, waiting to testify. And nobody does anything. And nobody says anything because it's so normal. And I saw teenagers that were ready to speak up, to share their story, to defend their rights. And little did I know how unpredictable life is. That 17 years later, at my current age of 17, I still have to go to court. I still have to testify and try to have my voice heard, my story heard, to achieve justice. But maybe I will never achieve this justice. But I still rebelled. As I said before, the first time that I rebelled, I gave my testimony in court. It was in the domestic violence case. It was in the alimony case, in the custody case, that I spoke up. And I rebelled by breaking the family tie that in reality was a noose. And when you rebel, you sit down, and it's not unlike the common belief of a rebellion that's aggressive and violent. It's not like that. My rebellion was a peaceful rebellion. I sat in a chair with a woman asking me if I said nothing but the truth. And that's what I did. I said nothing but the truth. But sometimes the truth is not enough. Sometimes my father would corrupt the system, and the system would aid him to be a corrupt man, and it would work. But this also made me realize that I was rebelling, that I was going against a corrupt system and doing something. I was able to understand that the Panamanian judicial system, and probably every system in the world, is corrupt in the sense that it allows individuals like my father to benefit from the opportunities that injustice brings. But aside from that, my rebellion made me become the person that I am today. As cheesy as that sounds, it is true. My rebellion made me do things I never thought I could do. I talked to power and authority. I told the judge that things had to change, that corruption couldn't continue, and that the laws for women and men trying to speak up after they have been victims is not fair. And trust me, saying that to the person who can decide if you're going to leave with Hulk, whew, it takes guts. But so does leading a rebellion. And that's what I want to do. I want to inspire all of you to lead rebellions. Because when you're in court, I saw so many people that were going through different, but the same situations that I was. They were all there to testify, to be heard. and they're there to fight their battles. But unfortunately, most of the time, because of the way the system works, their battles fight them. Nonetheless, we have to fight back, and we have to rebel. And if there's one thing that I learned throughout all my process, is that yes, there is injustice, plenty of it. And maybe when I die, maybe when I graduate, that I'm 18 March 30th, finally, I'm legal, I can travel by myself. But maybe even then, the injustice will never happen. And maybe in my case, the court will never say that justice happened. And my father still lives a free life. But nonetheless, that there is injustice, and there is pain. But there's also hope. And no feeling, and really trust me on this, because I've experienced this, that no feeling in the whole entire world compares to that of participating, or of winning, or just being part of the rebellion that you started. And all of you in this room can lead rebellions and can help people all around the world to fight their battles. Because that's what we do, we fight. We have the survival of the fittest, and that's how we survive, by fighting. And we can do it together to begin our own rebellions. Thank you.